Hello, everyone. Quant Network being selected by the Basel BCBS Supervisory Committee. Now, you won't hear an official announcement from Basel in that regard whatsoever. I have found, or I should say, I made a discovery in regards to actually confirming that. You're going to want to stick around for that. And how about this for size? This whole thought that, for example, Quant, yes, you heard me right, could very well be a divine or prophetic token. Now, I get it. That sounds absolutely nuts, but I'm not saying it. There's going to be a particular piece in this outline that's going to confirm that. And if anything, smash that like if you haven't done so already. Let's get right into the material. First thing I'm going to jump into is this. And coming up on your screen, a lot of us before Wikipedia, this is what we used, right? So check this out. If you're not aware, you have the Basel Committee that was guided to overreaching principles in which no banking system should operate unsupervised and supervision of banks must be adequate. The work of the Basel Committee is executed primarily through 4 subcommittees: the Core Implementation Group, the Policy Development Group, the Accounting Task Force, and more importantly, everybody, this one, the International Liaison Group. Now, if you understand Quant, you understand that Gilbert Verdian is a liaison with working groups, but more importantly, the Quant Network standard of ISO TC 307. As I jump over to this, I'm going to take you over to key finding that was overlooked, once again, from the Quant Network. As I expand this on your window, you will see here on October 7th, just a couple weeks ago, says, will banks ever be able to tap into the liquidity of permissionless blockchains? Now, here's the thing. Moving forward in this outline, I want you guys to understand this. You guys know, plain as day, that I'm super bullish on QNT long term. But it's a hypothesis about the notion that if Quant is going to be the most expensive token in history, again, token, not coin, token in history, then how could it realistically tap into the liquidity of something that dominates the entire crypto market, such as, for example, BTC and also Ethereum? They are the dominant ones that represent 81% of this overall crypto market. These statements are bold, but can it realistically be done, or is it just a bunch of hopium? Well, if anything, I'm going to go ahead and full screen this because I want to jump down to these key areas. So BCBS highlighted settlement as a key challenge because with permissionless blockchain, settlement of transaction does not always take place as expected. A lack of finality can cause uncertainty around the settlement status of transactions, which can mitigate the whole misalignment between legal finality and technical settlement. And it says to overcome this, they are able to implement integrity checks across blockchains using a patented technology. This helps to ensure transactions are written on the underlying chain while holding the state until it is confirmed, which provides assurance that transactions have finality. Now, listen to this. We're going to jump into a key video here. And if anything, I did share this a few months back with Rue Black and Underdog of the Underdog Research Channel. Follow these guys. They do great deep dive research. So if anything, this is another key area of that video because I didn't play the whole video for you. I went back into it and I discovered some new things. Listen to this gentleman from Citi. And if anything, draw your own conclusion in light of everything that's happening or unwinding, especially here recently with the Basel Committee and more importantly, Quant Network. Let's play that. We'll come back here shortly. Here we go.
This event is closed to the media and is only open to market participants.
What's really involved in not only moving the transaction on the ledger and committing the transaction, but achieving settlement finality and moving the assets. If any of my peers want to add something, Artem, yeah.
Yeah, if I may add, completely agree, Rishi. It's a really good framing. I'll just add one more dimension for the audience. I wouldn't think of this as just exclusively real-time settlement, and the RSN concept proposes moving the entire securities market to real-time settlement across the board for all transactions. That would be quite disruptive to the industry overall, and we all know just from the iterative conversations of the move from T2 to T1 and therefore. But there is something interestingly profound with the notion of having a settlement system that enables the ability to move cash and securities, not just on a near real-time basis, but also on a 24/7 basis. Right now, from a securities market perspective, we are all facing the challenges of batch processes, which certainly come with efficiencies, so no denying that, but settlement cycles, whether it's on a T1 or on an intraday or an end-of-day basis, and the fact that there are starts and ends to those cycles, which essentially means that outside of those cycles, largely speaking, particularly in off hours, your assets become trapped. And that has a certain cost component to it. So when we think about the potential of introducing a new settlement system and a shared ledger technology that doesn't just enable the more efficient messaging and that, but also opens up the option or provides the ability to move your liabilities or securities on a near real-time basis around the clock, that goes to very interesting considerations and opportunities when it comes to intraday markets around securities financing, when it comes to collateral mobility across the board. So those are just some of the notions that are being explored. So I wouldn't just think of it as real-time settlement across the board. There are going to be very interesting nuances and considerations that the group, as Arushi was mentioning, will be considering and bringing to light as part of the findings.
Okay, welcome back. With that said, check this out. Again, straight from the Quant Network. So we talked about this whole thing about the RSN and so on, Regulated Settlement Network. We talked about finality. You heard that gentleman from Citi point out some key things, but it's also unraveling some other key things. And if anything, I'm going to share this on the screen once again with you. So on this part about some of these concerns, understand that this is all worth pointing out because it's, again, the whole idea of the concerns around privacy and confidentiality of permissionless blockchains and how they were also raised in the paper. Again, back to that paper from the Basel Committee, the BCBS, basically. And it's understanding that basically we can provide records of transactions that can be viewed by the public. Although this concern is certainly valid, we have built a solution, as in Quant Network, that can co-sign each transaction that prevents unauthorized users from viewing any internal data. It's a client-side option to encrypt data destined to be written on-chain, which can be done in many ways, including a public key infrastructure. To mitigate regulatory risk, Quant offers the capability to whitelist or blacklist addresses, to be authorized for use. Remember, you can have the internet of value, but do you have the internet of trust? Both come hand in hand. Like they mentioned, this will minimize the risk of unauthorized transfers and transactions. To further reduce compliance risk, we run Know Your Customer checks on all public mainnet transactions through Onfido, or Onfido, I should say. Now, again, terms that get dismissed. Who is Onfido? Why do they matter? Well, basically speaking, I want to put more emphasis in this because when we get into the topic of like Bitcoin, like I pointed out before, well, some of you guys that don't know this need to know this. So is Bitcoin a permissionless blockchain? Well, most of major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin run on permissionless blockchain networks. True to its name, it allows anyone to take part in the network and access information. In short, it is a decentralized and open to the public. It's called, quote, permissionless because there are no gatekeepers and no censorship. So again, back to what I'm talking about in regards to, can Quant Network harness, and more importantly, through some other things, this whole concept of what we're talking about here from the beginning of the outline of this. and again, posted earlier this month about how banks will they ever be able to tap into liquidity of permissionless blockchains. In my opinion, when they do, this is where things like Ripple XRP, Stellar XLM, Quant Network, Hedera, and pretty much anything tied into ISO will absolutely rip. Now check this out. I'm going to take you over to another example, okay? So when we talk about that market dominance, you see Bitcoin, you see Ethereum, and combined, those two represent roughly 1.7 trillion, okay, of the overall market, which is about 80 to 81%, okay? One of the things that was brought up was Onfido. Onfido is a technology company that helps businesses verify people's identities using a photo-based identity document, a selfie, and more importantly, artificial intelligence. So you guys know I've been covering QNT quite a bit in regards to the whole thing of quant and AI, but this was founded back in 2012, former students of Oxford University, and more importantly, employs about 1,500 people. I'm not going to get so much into the history of this, but I want to get into the service. Emphasis on the service. Look at this. Onfido helps businesses prove their users' real identities through its online platform. If a person has a smartphone with a built-in camera, Onfido is able to use it to compare and cross-reference a person's facial biometrics with their identity document, such as driver's license. The person's identification can be checked against global databases for any issues. It uses manual and automated machine learning technologies, including optical character recognition and face detection, to verify the passport or ID card of an applicant to prevent fraud. Onfido also conducts right-to-work PEP and sanctions using multiple data sources. All right. If you think about the concept of what Augustine Carstens was mentioning in regards to the Finternet and the significance of offline, you will see how this comes into play. So take you to the next part. This is from onfido.com. And the reason why this is important is, again, pounds home the whole idea, of digital identity made simple. Create trust and onboarding and beyond with a complete AI-powered digital identity solution built to help you know your customers online. Automation allows you to acquire new customers and reduce costs while meeting global KYC and AML compliance. And you can kind of see how that workflow works. Shows this guy from New York State, driver's license, and how this workflow connects to all sorts of key things. If you've been following this channel for a while, we have broken down how all this literally works with other visuals. So for me personally, if you've been studying this stuff, to me, it's like, it's no question that this is significant. And if anything, Onfido and Entrust Company, and I'll get into why that's significant here in a bit. I want to take you over to, for example, this demo. This demo is unlisted to the public. So you see here, Onfido Studio Workflow Builder Demo. If anything, 2.5 minutes. Listen to this. We'll come back. You're going to want to see some of these visuals. Here we go.
With Onfido Studio, you can build and manage multiple verification journeys with no-code, drag-and-drop workflows in minutes. Begin by creating your first workflow, verifying a user's identity document, facial biometrics, and age. Give your workflow a name, and create the first version. Create your own verification flow from scratch, or easily get started with a ready-made template. Add your preferred blend of verification methods from our comprehensive verification suite, and configure the capture steps a customer follows. To further customize an onboarding experience, drag and drop a new capture step to determine what a user is asked to do, and easily integrate it by connecting steps within the flow. Then, add and integrate a report for facial similarity. If you need to add other conditions, such as age restriction, you can edit the if-else condition by adding a new filter route. Edit the condition in just a few clicks, and configure the end result to decline applicants that do not meet your business criteria. In this case, users below age 21. Save your updated flow and add any version notes. Then push it live immediately in one click. Your flow is now active and live for customers, but you can also easily track and reactivate previous versions. After a few days, check your flow's performance. Analytics provide a clear breakdown of the paths customers take, making issues easier to identify. Finally, the results dashboard shows all customers who have gone through your onboarding process. Filter the results to understand where users are dropping out of the funnel. This helps you easily review individual cases or brainstorm ways to reduce the number of applicants sent to the review phase to ensure you aren't losing valuable customers. Try building your own workflow today.
Okay, so one of the things that definitely stands out is in regards to no code, okay? And that's more than just a coincidence at this point when it comes to Quant Network and the overledger. Jump into this next part of significance is Entrust. The reason I want to share this with you as well is I want you guys to understand the bigger picture. Entrust ended up purchasing, apparently a while back, what you just saw there in regards to Onfido, I believe, or the other way around. But nonetheless, I want to pull this up for you because I think all of this is definitely significant. So Entrust, formerly Entrust Data Card, basically provides software and hardware used to future financial cards, e-passport, production, user authentication for those looking to access secure networks or conduct financial transactions. Think about some of these, the terminology here. Trust certification, for websites, mobile credentials, and connected devices. Privately held company in Shakopee, Minnesota, employs more than 2,500 people globally. All right, cool. I'm not gonna get so much in the history of this because again, it's gonna be quite the deep dive if I do. But this is interesting. A little bit of their history because dating all the way back to 1969, they were established as a data card addressograph after Willis K. Drake acquired Minnesota-based firm that produced credit card imprinters. Here's what's significant. The company founder, Willis K. Drake, led a team of engineers that invented machines that enabled secure and productive personalization of credit cards. My goodness, beyond the imprinters that addressograph have offered. Data card groups, high-volume card issuance systems allow banks and retailers to personalize 1,500 cards per hour with great precision and security. Until the company launched its technologies, the process was slow and riddled with quality problems. Think about that. In the year 2000, Data Card Group acquired Platform 7 P7, the smart card technology arm of National Westminster Bank. My goodness. So that was really worth pointing out. Also, look at this. After the rapid growth of, for example, instant issuance and credit, debit, and prepaid cards, banks, retailers, and credit unions and other organizations issuing cards used for financial transactions were rapidly deploying systems used to issue cards on demand in branch or store locations. All right. What about this whole thing about distributed ledger technologies and what's tied into that? Yeah, you know where we're going with this. These instant issuance systems often are used for issuing emergency replacements when cards are lost, stolen, and compromised by breaches. Say what you want. Gilbert Verdian and the Quant Network, all that focus, but a lot of focus in 2023 in regards to the European Union and focus on what, everybody? Digital ID cards. And now we see this, yeah, you can see how literally, no pun intended, there's a paper trail here, right? So most often they complement centralized operations that focus on mass issuance aspects of a card program. Okay, here we go. 2013, company acquired Entrust Inc. Okay, and then more importantly, 2014, rebranding. We get the gist. 2019, acquired general purpose hardware security module vendor Encipher from Thales Group. My goodness, Thales Group? Are you kidding me? Why is that significant? Well, when you get more into it, we know that Thales Group is a French multinational company that designs, develops, and manufactures electrical systems, as well as devices that include equipment in aerospace, defense, transportation, security sectors. My goodness. As we get further into this, Thales partially owned by the French state. And when it comes to the French, we know about Revolut. Again, everything connects, and say what you want. Quant Network with Constellation DAG, Air Force, right? That's worth pointing out. Take you a little bit more about this. Here's what's interesting, in my opinion, okay? When we talk about Thales, some people are going to point out, you just point out Thales for no reason, Maximus. Like, what the blood clot? Well, look at this. What do we have here? In this particular paper about Etsy, remember I talked about Send, Settlelec, and Etsy and all that? Look what it mentions in regards to discussion on specific topics, and more importantly, the onboarding of personal identification data and issuance. Yeah, Thales listed here. And more importantly, how long ago was this? I'm just giving people all the old stuff. No, I'm not. Etsy, standards people, agenda, Etsy Send, Settlelec workshop on EU digital identity framework standards, literally last month, September 10th, 2024. Now, this gets good. This gets real good because you may be thinking, well, so what, Max? So what? I don't care about that. Show me the good stuff. All right. Well, boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. Once again, ISO TC 307, Joint Working Group 4, Security, Privacy, and Identity for Blockchain DLT, Julian Bringer of KALLISTECH. Yeah, Quant Network Standard, everybody. ISO TC 307. Okay. Whoa. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, of course not. But check this out. When we get more into KALLISTECH, expertise in what? Crypto, security, related tech, and business innovation. My goodness. Why is this all important? Well, like it says, consulting activities on security, cryptography, biometrics, identity, privacy, blockchain, fintech, technologies, innovation, standards, and certifications. Okay, I get where you're going with this, Max. Absolutely. Now check this out. Here's this gentleman, Julian, Dr. Julian Bringer. Julian Bringer is going to bring it from Paris, France. Serial innovator, expertise since for 20 plus years in security, crypto, biometrics, identity, privacy, blockchain. Key emphasis, CTO of HODLNG. Current CEO of KALLISTECH. Listen to this. And more importantly, part of this whole thing of IDEMIA. So jump over to here. This company called, it's a funny name, all right? HODLNG, actually. Look at the connections, everybody. You see, for example, energy, finance, gas, governance, oil and gas, small and medium enterprises, and utilities. Now watch this. So I take you over to here. Here's a demo that came out last year, but that's, beyond the point. This experiment will show a design video showcase of the capabilities of an LNG exporter utilizing this thing called HODLNG's net positive platform. Again, think about the platforms. And if anything, this is very short. Listen to this. We'll tie in all the rest of the stuff. We won't keep it too long. Here we go.
I am an LNG exporter using HODLNG. I am now retrieving my sustainability data which my sustainability team has input recently. Here, I can browse a graph view of my cargoes and emissions, then select the cargo of interest. This brings up the associated emissions data. I visualize the emissions data from the well to the shipping and I can see the scope 1, 2, and 3. Here, I can see my emissions inventory based on market averages, which is correct by default but I can refine it. See here, the good thing with that data is that it is all authenticated via a verifiable blockchain trail. I now add granular emissions data from my supplier for each step of the supply chain related to my cargo. I upload a certified Excel file with my emissions declaration, which is processed and integrated into the inventory. My buyer and I already agreed on an LNG volume we want to compensate for this cargo. Let me check, where are my offsets? Here they are. Now I can easily balance and associate carbon offsets with the cargo to account for the compensation. Finally, I transfer ownership of the associated carbon offsets to my buyer via a digital asset. This digital transfer process enhances transparency and provides an auditable record of the offset transaction. HODLNG's net positive platform helps me retrieve and build on sustainability data to reduce emissions and increase transparency.
Okay, transparency and some of this talk about emissions, right? Check this out. Let's jump over to this. And basically, it's this gentleman right here from HODLNG, okay, or HODLNG. Dr. Julian Bringer. Like I said, he's going to bring it. Well, let's bring it. So, what do you see here on the speaker profile from cuppingercole.com? Dr. Julian Bringer is the CEO of KALLISTECH, expert consultant, has a lot of robust history in regards to IoT, cryptography, you name it, right? 19 plus years, 20 at some point, right? But it's the whole thing that before 2017, he was the leading innovation programs group wide at the global leader in security and identity solutions, IDEMIA, formerly known as Morpho, working across IoT security, digital identity, and strong authentication. Okay. He has active research and innovation with more than 80 scientific publications and more than 50 pending patents in the United States and the European Union. He's also an associate editor of the prestigious journal IEEE Transactions on Information and, more importantly, Forensics. Okay, he's an expert in several working groups: ISO, IEC, JTC1, and, for example, SC27. All right, all worth pointing out. Now, check this out. As I pull this up, if you go into IDEMIA, okay, you will see here a Wikipedia page because it's the highlight of banking. IDEMIA develops solutions to improve the payment card. Think about that, guys. Thus, the company carries out research such as the implementation of the fingerprint recognition in the 0.8 millimeter thickness of a card or the dynamic change, the visual cryptogram. In addition, the company is able to manufacture custom cards in small series adapted to each of the customers, including cards made with recycled plastic. And more importantly, do they have operations in the United States? Yes, they do. IDEMIA provides products to various federal and state governments, entities in the United States, and is the leading provider in the issuance of driver's licenses. So when we talk more about this whole thing of, Gilbert Verdian sits on that panel over at, the Federal Reserve in regards to the whole thing of tying that to Fed now, and then you see this, it's like, yeah, there is still going to be people, they're going to have their physical card. Thought I'd point that out to you guys. All right. So the other thing I want to jump into is understanding this as well. Jumping back to this gentleman, Dr. Julian Bringer. And why is that? Well, more importantly, former chair of the Common Criteria International Technical Committee, or Community, I should say, in biometric security. And since February 2018, is the convener of the Security, Privacy, and Identity Working Groups of ISO Standardization Committee. And once again, boil it, mash it, stick that sucker in the stew. The Quant Network Standard TC307 on blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. My goodness. Okay, now check this out. If you were to go over to that publication, okay, that was on the citation all the way back here of will banks ever be able to tap into the liquidity of permissionless blockchains? Definitely shows Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, aka the BCBS. And as you get further down, it talks about all these key things and what's in store for the future. It's understanding that Quant's technology provides the necessary controls to allow banks to safely and securely adopt and interact with public blockchains while exposing themselves to significant risk. If anything, Quant Network's ISO TC307 standard is like insurance for the big banks. How so? Well, we already connected so many things here, did we not? So that paper that they reference, a lot of times people don't ever read these papers. Check this out. Here's the paper, straight from the Bank for International Settlements, about BCBS, novel risks, mitigants, and uncertainties with permissionless distributed ledger technologies. And as we get into it, we'll get into what says the PDF of the full text. But before we do, understand this highlight. I know I read a lot of this verbatim, but again, some of it needs to be read verbatim. Banks that transact on permissionless blockchains or similar distributed ledger technologies, DLTs, face various risks. This paper considers the risk related to operations and security governance, legal compliance, including money laundering, financing of terrorism, and settlement finality. Back to that video you saw that wasn't released to the public from Citi. That pounds home that statement. Certain risks stem from the blockchain's reliance on unknown or third parties, which makes it difficult for banks to conduct due diligence and oversight. These risks require new risk management strategies and safeguards. Current practices for mitigating these risks remain in various stages of development and have not been tested under stress. Okay, right. But if anything, when you get into that PDF, check this out. This gets really, really good. Page 26 of 31 of this novel risks, mitigants, and uncertainties with, for example, permissionless blockchains. Citation of emphasis is on ISO 22739, and more importantly, the year 2024, because we're in 2024. Look what it says. Defines a vocabulary for blockchain distributed ledger technologies. This section summarizes the relevant terminology for public-private permissionless blockchains. The standard defines public versus private categories as applying to entities that use services provided by a DLT system, which we will call users as a shorthand. The standard also defines permission versus permissionless categories in terms of both users, as defined above, as well as in terms of entities that administer or operate the DLT system, which we will call administrators as a shorthand. The ISO standard does not clarify whether these administrators are validators only, or something like the full set of on-chain operators plus those with the off-chain authority to update popular open source code bases saved in places like GitHub or other purposes, or I should say for our purposes, we consider a wider definition of administrator that includes off-chain administrative activities. Now, here's what's important. As I got further into this, I said to myself, my goodness, what is this whole thing of ISO 22739? And more importantly, the 2024 version of it. Well, from what I gathered, in summary, what does ISO 22739:224 or 2024 have to do with ISO TC 307? And the answer is this, everybody. ISO 22739:2024 is a standard developed by the Technical Committee ISO TC 307, which focuses, as we know, on blockchain distributed ledger technologies. This standard specifically defines terms and concepts related to blockchain and DLT and ensures a common understanding within the industry. By providing a consistent vocabulary, ISO 22739:2024 facilitates better communication, collaboration, and innovation in the field of blockchain and DLT. But again, you're hearing this from me. Maybe you want to see some actual proof. Well, we're going to get into that here in just a moment, because this is from a citation from Cambridge. And if anything, this comes from a publication about, for example, searching for trust. What is good, or what good is blockchain? Straight from Cambridge.org. On this particular highlight from section 1.2, the social construction of meaning, recognizing that it would be difficult to advance scientific discussions about blockchain technology without a stable definition of the term. In 2017, global blockchain experts became involved in an international project to develop a standard blockchain distributed ledger vocabulary under the auspices of the International Organization Standardization ISO Technical Committee on Blockchain Distributed Ledger Technologies, TC 307. Now, that key area, some of you guys that have a detailed vocabulary already know what auspices means. Because back to what I talked about at the beginning of the outline, by definition, look at this. Auspice, a divine or prophetic token. QNT is a divine or prophetic token? Think about that. Think about it hard. And if anything, what about Quant? Well, is ISO TC 307 the Quant Network standard? Well, of course. But the Quant Network is a leader in the development of ISO TC 307 standard for blockchain distributed ledger technologies. We know about its role, but more importantly, is its innovations. And as we take you over to this, look what it says, just in case you think I'm just making some of this stuff up, because some people pointed that out before, and that's okay. God bless you. I'm praying for even people that are the haters. Because guess what? If you go to ISO.org and you look up ISO 22739:2024, Blockchain Distributed Ledger Technologies vocabulary, this document was prepared by who? The Technical Committee, ISO TC 307. Boil it, mash it, stick it in freaking stew, because it says that this second edition cancels and replaces the first edition that dated back to 2020. That's right. And more importantly, why is that so important? Because if anything, ladies and gentlemen, it's understanding that when we jump back to this right here, this is straight from the BCBS. So you could pretty much state that the BCBS, the Basel BCBS, selects Quant Network, everybody. But if anything, that can't be officially released in the press. But that standard referenced is Basel. And connecting it and seeing that was originally tied into ISO TC 307 standards, everybody, that's why we put so much emphasis on it. So if you listen to this entire outline, simply do me a favor and type into the comments BCBS, and I will know that you listened to the entire outline. So I can't thank you guys enough for listening to this. If anything, I'm that much more bullish on QNT, and of course, glad to provide you guys some new updates in regards to this. If Quant Network can truly tap in, which I believe they will, to that market dominance, that would be absolutely huge for the QNT token moving forward and everything that's tied into it. So thanks again for tuning in. God bless you all. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.